Hi, and welcome to the X22 Report Spotlight. Today we have a returning guest, Bob Kudla. Bob is the creator and owner of TradeGeniusAcademy.com, and I am very happy to have Bob back on the X22 Report Spotlight. Bob, welcome back to the Spotlight.
Hey, Dave, thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for being on here. And it seems like we've been seeing a lot of major things going on with gold, with Bitcoin, with the stock market. And of course, everyone is out there saying recession, depression, the market's going to zero. I mean, I'm exaggerating right now, but Bitcoin's going to zero. It's all done. Hey, that's it. So let's just start off with the stock market. That came down quite a bit. And of course, everyone's freaking out that the market's coming down. What do you think is happening right now?
Yeah, two things, and one is transitory, and the other one is a little bit more concerning. Is that I'll talk the transitory one. Jerome Powell, in his infinite desire to trip up Trump, is declared, well, we don't need to cut in December, and so that caused all the algos out there to reassess and put a higher yield on the bond market, which then causes issues in the stock market. A second part of that is that, the AI boom has probably reached its first bubble peak and has pulled back 25, 30%. Some of these guys have pulled back even more just because you can't maintain the growth level at the current stock price. So that's a pullback too. The more concerning thing is what's happening actually in Japan. So Japan, sells yen, and they want a weaker currency, and they use that money then to buy into higher yielding economies like the United States. So every once in a while you get this pullback because the yields are rising in Japan. Money comes home, or money is forced to come home because people are borrowing yen to speculate. And that causes grief in our markets too, because they're the last carry trade out there, other than Switzerland. But Switzerland's too small to really matter. And so I think those are the things that are causing the grief right now in the stock market. The thing about the recession is interesting to me. I would say that half the country is doing well, and half the country is in a recession. And so we just have to see, where that all lays out. And we're transitioning, next year. I think, economic activity is going to move in from the coasts into flyover country. And so I think you'll see a balancing out there. I don't think we'll necessarily be in a recession next year, but probably 27 and 28 could be pretty rocky. Regarding the stock market, I want to just, because a lot of people now, a lot of things are floating around the interwebs here, showing that we're on this path for 1929 to 1932 stock market collapse.
Right.
And what people are very simplistic people, Dave, as you know, and so they're assuming that we're going to get the exact same event. What they fail to understand is that the United States in 1929 bears little resemblance to the United States of 2025. And if you want a better analogy, you need to look at the United States in 2025 as Britain was in 1929, and you look at China in 2025 as the United States in 1929. And so what you have here is a situation where the United States and Great Britain then, and the United States now, we're drawing capital into the country, okay? Our trade deficits are falling. Our relative fiscal balance, in terms of vis-a-vis other countries, is falling into our favor. And countries like Japan, which I just mentioned, China, Germany, South Korea, countries that have been typically they're export-oriented types of economies, they're the ones that are going to suffer greatly, especially countries that have to import energy. Japan, Korea, China, all have to import energy. And then China and those countries also have to import food. Now, the good thing about Korea and Japan is they have a benefactor called the United States. China and United States are at odds. And so if any country is going to collapse and stock market's going to collapse, it's going to be China. United States, if we follow the Great Britain route, we'll have a run-of-the-mill 40% correction like we did in 2008, like we did in 2001, like we had in 73 and 74 in that time frame. I'm not saying that's not painful, but it's hardly a market crash of the type that will drastically change the economy of the United States. So that's my view on it, and I'm calling for at some point here, peak to trough 40% down. Some stocks have already done that, Dave. So, look at Palantir and NVIDIA are all down greater than 20% from their peaks. So, a 20% fall from there might be painful, but, that still puts it above where they started the year. So, it's all a matter of perspective. And really, if you look at Trump, Trump's a populist. So at some point, he's going to abandon the stock market, Wall Street for Main Street. And you saw the pivot after those elections that we just had, where he said money to the people, not to the insurance companies,
right?
Dropping tariffs on food, et cetera, et cetera. So I see the stock market can have pressure in order for him to support the Main Street.
Yeah, I'm looking at this as when Biden was in office and we saw this incredible amount of inflation, fuel prices going up, the job numbers were fake. See, I'm going back to that period of time when he handed off the economy to Trump. I'm saying that we were in a recession there. Without the tariff system, without the investments, without the money pouring into this country, if we just wiped that out and said, okay, Trump was just going to do things as what Biden was doing, I think the country was already in a recession. I think the tariff system and what he's doing right now has prevented us from going into like a deep depression.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For the reasons I just described.
Yeah.
He's drawing money and capital into the country. Well, when things start getting really bad here, Dave, money's going to come pouring into the United States at unprecedented levels. Trump is prone to being generous with his claims, but I don't think he can overestimate the money that's going to pour into this country. It's leaking out of China now. Wait till it becomes a torrent, okay? And I think you're right. We'll see $1 trillion there on tariffs,
right?
And I think what he's doing. What's more important than the tariffs is really the investments that are coming in. Challenger Gray is already showing the hiring. We're starting to see hiring instead of layoffs. We're seeing net hiring from Challenger Gray. So
I think ADP is also showing.
I apologize. I got 2 golden retrievers that are wondering why I'm not looking at them. I apologize if you hear the heavy breathing.
I hear the breathing, yes. I think ADP also...
I guarantee it's not my wife.
Yeah. I think ADP also said the same thing as Challenger Gray and Christmas. They are also seeing jobs starting to come back to the U.S., and we're seeing a lot more jobs being added than actual layoffs. And I think with the job numbers and everything from Biden, I think we had to start from a different point, because you have to remember a lot of those job numbers were fake. So you got to wipe all those out and say, okay, you can't pretend that, okay, we're starting from the fake numbers and moving up. If you remove all those job numbers, yes, it's going to look like there has been no jobs that have been created, because pretty much what happened. So I think we're starting at a very good point right now. And I think things are just going to get better as time goes on. I remember Trump's a builder. He planned it out, just like if you're building a building. He built the foundation, putting everything in place. And I think 2026 is going to look very, very different as we move into 2026.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think he stepped it into high gear now, because he knows that he has to have things locked and cocked by the end of summer. Look, Arizona is going to be a different state in the next 6 to 9 months, with hundreds of thousands of high-paying jobs coming in from the tech sector. And then you look at pharmaceuticals coming in now, and you have the biotech coming back, and you have basically metals, mining, and we had record oil production too this year. So, like I said, there's a transition. The people that are used to working at Starbucks better get used to getting their hands dirty instead of having a wipe cloth to wipe up spilled coffee. They're gonna have to actually get out there and do more physical labor. And that's a problem because people aren't used to it. And the other
No.
problem is people aren't used to making sure they have STEM degrees. So those are the two Achilles heels that we have. But the jobs are there. My daughter's friend works for a company fixing robots on an automation of distribution center. They
Wow.
can't find enough workers. Can't find enough
Well, I
workers.
don't think, you know
And,
what it
and,
is?
and
I don't think people have the skills.
right, what a desire. They'll teach you. They literally will teach people how to do it. And it's not that I want to say it's not that hard. It's just once you know it, fixing it doesn't change. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's just that people just don't want to do that kind of work. But I mean, this person is 25 years old and makes over $100,000 a year with overtime. So,
Wow.
not bad.
Not bad at all. So when you look, we just discussed the stock market. When you look at Bitcoin, we're starting to see, Bitcoin start to drop, and it came down to the 90s around that. It fluctuates 92, 93. But we could see it's dropping. People, of course, of panicking. There goes Bitcoin. It's done for. But I see a lot of outflows of ETFs. I see a lot of people dumping a lot of their ETFs and dropping. What do you make of this?
2 weeks ago they said gold was dead too.
Yeah.
Today gold's up $50. You know what it is when they built a derivative system around Bitcoin, so now they can push and pull a little bit, and people that are trading in derivatives, they cause these outside moves. Our measured move for Bitcoin is down at 84K. May get there, may not. It broke 90K actually, I think earlier this week.
Yes.
But that's our view. Look, Bitcoin is tied to the global liquidity money supply, and is tied to tech. If we get a tech bounce here going into the end of the year, you'll see Bitcoin push up higher. And then right now the correlation is 70% to tech. So we'll see if it separates from tech and runs with money supply next year, because all the governments around the world are pumping money supply like it's going out of style. China and Japan are trying to. They're basically running up a down escalator right now, Dave. And they're trying to win through pumping liquidity into their economies. And then I think once Powell's out of the way, starting in March, the Trump liquidity machine is going to go into high gear. So I think what's happening in Bitcoin is transitory, and then I think it's going to rocket when all this money can't find a home in the real economy.
I agree. And pretty much you just mentioned gold also. We saw gold, it dropped below 4,000 for a little bit. Let's talk about our health. In recent clinical trial this year, women who took 2.5 grams of collagen peptides daily for 8 weeks saw an average of 25% reduction in eye wrinkle depth, 9% improvement in skin elasticity, and 29% book in skin hydration, proving collagen can visibly strengthen and rejuvenate skin from within. This is why I use today's sponsor, BioTrust Ageless Multi-Collagen, and I'm obsessed with the results it's given my skin. BioTrust Ageless Multi-Collagen helps supercharge my skin health using 5 premium types of collagen needed to help reduce wrinkles. I've noticed smoother skin, more elasticity, more hydration, fewer fine lines, and a youthful glow. Plus, it also helps improve my joint health, bone strength, and connective tissues on top of my skin health. For a limited time, you can grab a bag of BioTrust Ageless Multi-Collagen for 51% off only at healthwithx22.com. Plus, you also receive free VIP live health and fitness coaching for life, a free ebook titled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free express shipping with your order. Once again, go to healthwithx22.com to get this deal now, or just click the link in the description. And then it went back up, and I do believe it's approaching 4,100 right now. So, I mean, we're seeing the same fluctuation.
Yeah, it seems like there's a fight between gold and Bitcoin. I don't know if the boomers and Gen Z are like having a cage match right now. So we're seeing it go back and forth between gold and Bitcoin. So that'd be an interesting thing to watch. And don't sleep on oil. I think one of the questions that you wanted to ask is where oil is going to go. Oil can't get down below $55 a barrel. It shuts off all production here. So that's probably a good floor. But there's enough oil production capacity out there that if it got to 70 or 75, it'll get knocked back down. So I think gold's in a range. But these next 3 months are actually positive for oil, because this is when they they start drawing out of storage to move into the refineries to get it ready for the spring driving season. So December, January, February, we should see oil having strength. All that is a caveat. If something happens in the world, right, oil can go much higher on a short-term basis. But, you have Saudis and you have the United States pumping at full tilt, and I think probably Canada too. So I think you're going to see oil go up a little bit, but it's not going to break out unless there's some sort of war that affects United States production.
Well, also with all the leases that have been issued, those are going to come into effect in 2026 also. So you're going to see a lot of oil companies, they're going to start to drill. So that's going to change everything.
And also you have big oil fields in Guyana too. ExxonMobil has that one. I own ExxonMobil. It's my number one position for decades. And so if we come to some sort of resolution with Russia will invite ExxonMobil back into Russia too. So it's a good company to own long term. And then you have, like you said, the leases, and then Trump doing a little bit of trolling on Newsom. He said he's going to offer some leases in California too.
Right. So I mean, you sent me a chart.
It'll never happen. But he'll make that guy spin again.
Yes. You sent me a chart today, and it showed how well your algorithm is doing compared to the market, your picks and everything like that. And actually, you're way above. It's absolutely incredible. So I'm assuming that you'll continue this trend, and it'll get better and better as time goes on.
Yeah, I mean, that was a bit of a surprise. One of my customers actually sent it to me, so I didn't think I wanted to pat my own back and send it over to you, Dave. But yeah, this customer had been with me for 2 years, and he goes, I thought you'd like to know, how your picks have performed against the small caps, the NASDAQ, and the S&P 500. And we handily beat all of those in 24 and 25, which have been stellar years for the stock market. And so we always knew that our system was pretty good. It was just gratifying to see somebody else taking all the trades and reaping those benefits from our alerts that we put out there. And just so people know, I put one or two alerts out every day, just for this reason, to prove that the system works. But we give people access to the algorithm, Dave, so people can trade whatever the heck they want. And so then we have chat rooms like you and I are talking, and or people could type in their questions. So it's a good system. I think we'll really see it shine is if we do get some significant stock market corrections here over the next 12 to 24 months. You'll see our performance against those markets will even increase because we have the ability to chase ETFs and stocks that work well in a down market. So I always tell people when things are fat and easy, people don't think they need a service like ours. But when things get wonky, we tend to get a lot of customers. And the last 2 months, we got a lot of customers because, things weren't as easy as people thought, And so we're really here to help people. And Dave, we have great specials for people going into the end of the year. So just come to our site, tradelikeagenius.com, take advantage of it. We pushed all our pricing to quarterly. So the cash flow is easier for people, and for also people that aren't sure they like a service like this. Hey, you're only committed for 90 days instead of ponying up for a whole year. But we're talking $149 to $249 a quarter. So we're not talking about anything that would break the bank if you want to take a shot with us. Most people that come stay, so I think you'll like it, and we're like-minded people too, Dave. So. It's a pleasant environment to be in there. You're not fighting with your fellow traders over politics. Everybody seems to be nodding in the same direction. And we all love our country.
Yeah, it's also good for those people that, want to get into trading, but they just don't know how. And it's good because it's always nice to have like a coach to help them out in all of this. So
and sorry, I cut you off. But, we can also, if you ever wanted to, Dave, maybe after next month, I can always do an orientation training for anybody that signs up, next month too, to show people how it works.
Yeah, that'd be good. I mean, I'll put all the links at the bottom of the video for those people that want to go over and join up to the trading system, learn how to trade. And if you're an experienced trader, just go right over. It's a great group of people, and Bob will really help you out there. I just want to talk about the tariffs for a sec, because it seems that Trump is bringing in, billions and billions of dollars. And now he's saying that he's going to give people $2,000 a dividend. This is very, very different than stimulus, because stimulus is when you borrow from the central bank and you say, okay, now I'm going to stimulate the economy with the borrowed money. This is already existing currency that's already out there. We're just bringing it into the country, and he's saying he's going to give people a dividend. Why do you think he's doing this? Will this help the economy?
Yeah, I think, with Trump, it's starting to be an emerging pattern, I think, going into the midterms. I'm going to give you your money back to you from these evil importers, right? And if you're making, $100,000 a year as two people, that's a 4% pay raise, right? And then also with the insurance company money, the subsidies is going to be directed back to the people instead of the insurance company. So what he's really trying to do, he's trying to reorient people's understanding on how they interact with the government. Instead of the government taking their money and directing it on their behalf, with a lot of the hands out there, the parasites taking their cut, he's pushing the money directly into the people and letting them decide how they want to spend it. So I think in that sense, it's a mind shift to get people away from dependency. And hey, if you're making a 4 to 5% dividend, on behalf of the country, you're beating inflation. That's just something make you feel good. The other thing too, it's great politics. He's not giving the Democrats an inch to get in between him and the people. So I think it's really, really good. And it looks like he's going to drop it like June or July next year, just so people have it nice in their memory.
Yes.
When they start thinking about who they want to vote for. So and also what he's doing too, he's also speaking to the Supreme Court.
Yes.
He's basically saying, just like they did the Supreme Court with the abortion thing back in the 70s, hey, this thing's already a fait accompli. You got to take money out of people's pockets. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I think he's doing some of that too. Oh, you want to bankrupt the United States? Go ahead and cut me back on those tariffs. So I think he's trying to give the Supreme Court cover to basically saying, hey, the horse is out of the barn. We'll see how that plays.
I think he has all the leverage in this. Because again, there's a lot of laws on the books right now, and Congress kind of gave up their control over the tariffs. And also there's the national security issue, which he can play that card. So I think this is going to be very tough for the Supreme Court.
Hey, look, Chief Justice Robert, he did the origami move to approve Obamacare.
Right.
Just tell him to get his origami book out and make it happen on the tariffs.
When you said, Trump is going to give the money back to the people for health insurance, really think about Obamacare. The money, the subsidies, that went directly to the insurance companies. So, of course, we know the insurance companies wrote the bills, but that doesn't create competition. It doesn't do anything. It basically, they already know they're getting the money. If the money goes to the people say, you know what? This is the better insurance. And then the other company has to say, wait a minute, why are you going over there? Oh, we can do a little bit better. It creates competition. You get better coverage, lower premiums. Everything starts to be better. This is, if you go back to our founding fathers, this is what they wanted. They wanted the people to make the decision. They didn't want the government to make the decision for them.
Absolutely. It was a disaster. How they did this and made all this billions of dollars they kept, and our premiums went up and they got richer. So,
yes.
It doesn't take a mathematician to figure out we've been screwed. And so, I like all this stuff. If I had my druthers, the Trump can move every agency back to the states. If he has to drop a few bones back to the states to help that transition, we don't need a national EPA. We don't need a national education. We don't need, we don't need, any of that stuff other than safety for the people. Border patrol,
right,
and national defense, and everything else can go back to the states. And I think that's his ilk. I think that's where he's driving towards. And if he can maintain power and and it could pass on to JD and or Rubio in the future, then I think we could remake this country. And so really, I'm kind of excited. I just want to make sure that, the European monarchy doesn't try to screw us, or the Chinese communist, propaganda tries to derail us. I mean, we're getting hit on both sides here.
Well, of course.
We took away Europe. We took away Europe's easy money train with subsidizing their defense and subsidizing their health care. So they're pissed. They want that back. And then China, is losing a market, and they want that back, and so, he's fighting on both fronts, and so far so good. We just have to pray for him and make sure he doesn't make any unforced errors, and keep showing the people why what he's doing is beneficial for them directly. And he needs to really start speaking to the inner city people and just keep reminding them that every illegal they take out of your city means your rent's going down,
Yep.
your crime's going down, your job opportunities are going up, your pay is going to go up. That mantra needs to be nonstop.
And it feels like with Europe, we were paying for their socialist system and the money. They're like, isn't this great?
Right.
Look, free healthcare. But we were paying for that. That we were.
And they mocked us.
Yes.
They mocked us. Our system's better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your system's better. We paid for it.
Right. Exactly. and it looks like the Fed was completely wrong about tariffs with inflation, because they were expecting inflation to go to 8, 7, 9, whatever it was percentage. And it actually, I think there was a 150-year study from all the data came out and said, yeah, you know what happens? The opposite happens. Tariffs actually reduce inflation. So they were completely wrong on that.
I don't think they were wrong. They deliberately misrepresented
I agree with
the
that.
data because they didn't want it. They have 2,200 PhDs. You can't tell me that they didn't have studies they're showing them this stuff. They knew. They just don't like it because their overlords were telling them not to have tariffs. And but I knew that. I told people that right from the beginning. I said tariffs are deflationary. If you think about it, you try to pass on that price increase to a customer, somebody else may not. You know what I mean? And your sales get crushed. It's really, people don't understand price, supply and demand sensitivities to price. At some point, I don't care how much you raise the price of beef. If I can't afford it, I ain't buying it. And that goes for everything else. You just don't buy it. You substitute out. And on the books, the headline could say inflation's up 10%, but if nobody's buying your stuff, you collapse. And that's what those guys found out right away. You started seeing sales everywhere. I don't know if you've been to the grocery store lately. I shop for us. I'm seeing prices back to where we are in 2020 in every area except for beef, and probably fish too. But you look at pork, you look at chicken, you look at eggs, you look at pasta. Mm-hmm. All those prices are down back into the early 20s again. So, and now he's going to try to drive the beef cartel out of business.
Yeah, I think that's the monopoly on the
prices fall too.
Yeah, I think the beef is the packing monopoly that they have. That is a major problem.
Yeah. Now we'll just import the slaughtered beef directly into the, package right into the country. We do it a little bit with Australia and New Zealand now. Now it could come in, they'll butcher it there, they'll package it there, and they'll freeze it and ship it here already ready to go to the grocery store. Walmart's probably all over this right now. They're probably in Argentina, Brazil, and Australia saying, I want this stuff pre-cut. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Freeze it, bring it in, I'll put it right on the shelf. And I think that'll break up the cartel.
Yeah, that's what it's going to do. It's going to create competition, and everyone's going to go, well, I'm going to get this cheaper beef over here. And the cartel's going to say, oh, crap. Okay, we're going to have to do something a little bit different because we're losing sales. No one's buying from us again anymore.
Yeah, it's a shame. We knew this for a long time. Mm-hmm. The farmers are always constantly getting screwed.
Yeah,
and it's across the board. It's the same with grains. And oil seeds and meat. The packers control the price. They get forced the farmers to accept less, and then they create an artificial supply shock, and then they drive prices up. We need to. No entity should have more than 10% control over an environment. And these four own 100% of the market.
Yeah.
90%, I think, what it's told. Crazy.
Well, what I think we're learning now is what competition is, because I think for a very long time, especially like the health insurance and everything else, it seems like, they try to force us away from competition. So I think people forgot what competition is and what competition does for the economy and for your products and the prices and everything like that. And I think Trump is reintroducing it, and I think the people now are learning.
Yeah, and maybe we could talk in the future. I think the whole higher education establishment is in for a world of hurt, primarily through demographics. So, and plus, people aren't going to, with the AI revolution, you better have a job that means something. I mean, a degree that means something, or you're going to be pretty dead ass broke. And the government jobs aren't going to be there for you to soak up the poli sci people. You better do something that's going to be meaningful for the economy. I think my prediction is in the next 10 years, 30 or 40% of all universities will be gone in the United States.
Most likely, yes. Hey, Bob, thank you very much for being on the X22 Report Spotlight. Once again, if people wanted to join your trading system, where should they go?
TradeLikeAgenius.com and check out our specials. I think you'll like them, and look forward to you joining us and hopefully reaping the benefits of our trading signals.
Great. I'll put all the links at the bottom of the video. Bob, once again, thank you very much for being on the Spotlight. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
Thank you.